what's up guys? My name is Zack and today I am driving a 2002 Saab 9.3 Viggen. Up front is a 2.3 liter turbocharged inline-4 and down below is a 5-speed manual transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this 9.3 Viggen because I really like Saab products. Obviously we can't get them anymore, so it's always fun to review a brand that is no longer offered. But the second reason is the fact that this is the Viggen, which is not only the top trim of the 9.3 but also the performance trim. And so we are going to have a lot to talk about here today with the Saab 9.3 Viggen. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 2.3 liter turbocharged inline-4 under the hood. Well, it makes about 230-ish horsepower, which isn't the craziest number I've ever heard, but it definitely delivers a nice solid punch to the 9.3. It does make more power than the other Saab 9.3 trims with the help of a Mitsubishi turbocharger, and I have to say that 230 is definitely a very healthy number when it comes to the power. Second gear. You probably didn't hear much. It's not a very loud experience, but it just kind of whooshes you away. It kicks in around 4,000. I like that. I like the feeling of it. It's not very brutal. It's not in your face. It doesn't kick you in the chest like maybe like a Subaru WRX of the same era or a lot of other 4-cylinder boosted cars like the Mazda Speed 3 of the same era. It doesn't have that brutal kick, but I don't think that that's what Saab wanted. So it's nice to feel that. Like I said, paired to it is a 5-speed manual transmission. Now that is the only way that you could option the Viggen. The Viggen only came with the 5-speed manual. However, if you got a more standard Saab 9.3 from the same era, you could get an automatic, as you're seeing now with a previous vehicle that I reviewed. Last but not least, of course, the 9.3 is still front-wheel drive. However, something I do want to note is that this owner actually has done one modification to actually the steering. So these cars have very aggressive torque steer from the factory. When you really get on them, they like to turn. And he said it feels like driving a boat in the wind. So there's actually a steering rack brace that you can add, which he's done. And so it helps tighten it up just a little bit. And he said it's very noticeable on the turbos, but on the NA cars, there's really no point in doing it. So how does it feel to drive the Saab 9.3 Viggen? Well, it's a very fun experience, as you saw. Like I said, it's a very linear power band, which wasn't totally typical of turbo cars in this era. They sort of pack a punch. So the Saab 9.3 right off the bat, because of that, feels a lot more refined. Steering isn't too heavy or too light. I would say it leans to the heavier side, but I, again, wouldn't categorize it as heavy steering. And visibility is good. It's a little coupe, and that's all I want. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 3 gauge areas. Off to the left is my tachometer. In the center is my speedometer, and off to the right, I have my coolant temperature, turbo pressure, and my fuel. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our seek, track, and next button, and off to the right, we have our source and volume. The overall steering wheel is nice. I do have this perforated leather. However, nothing too crazy. Off to the left, we do have our headlight switches, front and rear fog light switches, gauge dimmer switch, and our climate control vents. And you'll notice that behind that, there's this sort of almost granite-looking pattern that is Viggen specific. So the Viggen's got this sort of almost cement gray bezel for the dash, which I think is a nice touch. On the door, we just have the latch to get in and out and the power mirrors up top. That's it. And moving into the center, we do get a little information area. This will tell you any warnings within the vehicle, time, date, temperature, things like that. And down below, we have our set buttons for that and our night panel mode. One of the coolest buttons from the 2000s, I think. When you hit this, the night panel will actually shut off all of the gauges, or at least the lights to the gauges, and just focus on the speed. This is again pulling from their fighter jet heritage and offers a really cool and calm experience for when you're on the highway. You just want to look at the speed. You don't care about fuel, boost pressure, tachometer, whatever. And that is really, really special. Down below that, however, we do have a cup holder that pops out, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test, but anyone with the gift of sight or non-botched LASIK can see that the big friggin' bottle was never going to fit in the first place. Down below that, we do have a CD player, our number pad, radio volume, bass, treble, fade, things like that. Pretty standard radio equipment down there. And then we have our climate controls down below that. We do get a digital readout, which is certainly nice to see. Temperature, fan speed. We have tons of different fan speeds to select through, which is always nice for me because I like to keep the AC on in the video, but I don't want it to be too loud for the audio. So this really gave me a nice option where it was a good middle ground. Sometimes it's either completely off and I sweat like a pig, or on and it sounds like I'm inside a Dyson. So I like that a lot. To the left, we do have our traction control, but to the right, we have our heated seat options and OnStar. So GM actually owned a majority share in Saab during this era, and so they gave it OnStar, which is a GM program. However, in the eras since GM did this, they sometimes can cause issues within the electrical system of the car, so a lot of people disable this like the owner Tom has. We do have a 12-volt outlet, little cubby, and some storage space, and then we have the shifter. Like I said, 5-speed manual shifter, only way that the Viggen came, and I like it. It works really well, has a nice click into gear, and I feel good about it. Down below is actually where we'll find our ignition switch. So you actually put the key in down below here, which is really interesting. A Saab quirk, I've seen this on a couple of Saab products, and it was one of their cornerstones of design. However, something interesting that I feel like isn't talked about all that much is actually, in order to get the key out of the ignition, you have to put the car into reverse, and then it will unlock the key. Kind of interesting and something that you might not have known. Then we do have our sunroof and lock options and our power windows. So plenty to love down here in the center of the Saab 9.3. Little armrest, and then the seats. The seats are Viggen specific, so they do have higher bolsters, and they have the Viggen logo in them, which is super, super cool. And I absolutely love the seats. I'm a big guy and I fit in them pretty happily, which can't always be said about performance seats. However, even though this is a coupe, we do have back seats. So let's go do a back seat review. If you guys are fans of the channel, you'll know that this is by far my least favorite thing in the whole entire world to do is to get in the back seat of coupes. I'm a big guy. These openings are never big enough for me. Ow. See? All right. We're in the back seat. A couple of things to note. First of all, the seats themselves are very, very comfortable, and wow, this is a not flattering angle of me. The seats themselves are very comfortable. They do also have the Viggen logo on them as well, which I think is a really nice touch. A lot of automakers, and honestly, GM is the biggest perpetrator when it comes to this, is that they'll do some fancy, nice front seats and then completely forget about the back seats. It's not the case. They still get the Viggen logo back here as well. Sitting back here, comfortable. I like it. Getting back here, don't love it. So, one of the things to note, but I do have a climate vent. I have a little pull-down center console here. Nothing on it, just a big foam brick, but cool nevertheless. Let's hop into the very back. We'll take a quick look at the spacious trunk, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the O2 Viggen, love the license plate, of course. We do have a trunk popper here on the key fob. Pull it up like that. Rather heavy trunk, if I'm honest, but the flip side is that you get so much space. I mean, the Saab 9.3s, I always forget A, that they're a hatchback, and B, how truly spacious they are around the back. I think it's really, really special and something that people don't really talk about as much. So, tons of space back here. We don't get any crazy amenities. We do have like a little light over here, which is nice. Big Saab center floor mat as well. And you can lower not only the back seats, but you could also open up that little compartment to go through for your skis or things like that. So that is the trunk space of a Saab 9.3 Viggen, in case you were curious. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and the Saab 9.3 Viggen, more specifically the Viggen, gets different bumpers and side skirts and the rear wing to differentiate it from regular 9.3s, which I think is a nice touch, and I think it's styled really well. It does look more aggressive, however, it doesn't look overly aggressive like a teddy bear with a knife. So definitely good to see that. So I think it actually works really, really well, and I am a big, big fan of the look of the Saab 9.3 Viggen. However, with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think finally driving a Viggen 9.3? Because I've driven a 9.3 before and I liked it, but this is, well, this is something new. I love this car a lot. And I'll be honest, I like how it drives. It's not the craziest driving experience. It's not the most unique driving experience I've ever had, but it's good. The power from that 2.3 turbo is wonderful. Rowing it through the gears, the manual transmission is so much better than the automatic. I love all of that. But honestly, one of the big attractors for me to this car was the name. A lot of companies use crazy and weird names for their sporty trim levels. That's nothing new, and sometimes they even pull from the brand's history. But Saab, when they named this vehicle, just pulled a name from some of the other products that they make, which are fighter jets. This is literally named after a fighter jet. And that to me is so cool because Saab also built jets during the same time that they were building cars. And I always find that super interesting. But a lot of companies, like Hyundai specifically, Hyundai also used to make computer monitors, but also cars at the same time. You didn't get a Hyundai monitor in your Hyundai Excel. There wasn't really any crossover, but Saab doubled down on it, and they even ran these old ads. Take a look.
Saab's innovative technology starts at around $15,000 for the 900. Moves gradually up through the 900S, then onto the 900 Turbo, then the Saab 9000S, from there to the 9000 Turbo at around $28,000, and stops at the Saab Viggen, which runs about $20 million.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And so to drive this car, and more specifically, a 2002 silver Viggen, is one of only 17 made in this color combo for that year. It's so special. This car is very unique. It's very well done, and I think it's one of those, dare I say, slept-on automobiles. Not many people know much about the Viggens, and I think that's a huge disservice to the car community. These are wonderful, and it's very clear that this was the top dog for the Saab 9.3. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Tom for letting me take out his Saab 9.3 Viggen. What an awesome experience. Tom and I have been internet friends for quite some time, going back and forth about actually old RX-7 stuff. He's been absolutely wonderful to work with here today, and I appreciate him very, very much for offering up this awesome, awesome example of a Saab 9.3 Viggen. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.